Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got an enticing matchup to cover on the agenda between two teams that have been quite good for me personally to bet on over the last couple of weeks. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some high value angles. It's the North London Derby, a midweek Premier League game between Arsenal and Spurs at the Emirates. Game week 21 in the Premier League will be a midweek set of fixtures coming off the back of round 3 of the FA Cup on the weekend. That recently saw Tottenham win 3-0 unconvincingly at Tamworth Rovers in extra time. Meanwhile, Arsenal were eliminated at home by Manchester United after Kai Havertz missed his spot kick in the penalty shootout. I covered that game in a thread which I posted over on Twitter to some success. Although Declan Rice didn't start, every other bet landed, including Gabriel to score any time, which was priced just short of 9-1. The second bet also landed. I suggested taking a ladder on Lewis Skelly to draw 2 fouls and then 3 fouls with the higher line price at 4-1, and he obliged, drawing exactly 3 fouls. It could have even been more. There was at least one other occasion where Andy Madley maybe could have blown the whistle but didn't. That price is actually shortened quite a bit going into this game, which is understandable. I think his price of 2.2 to draw at least 2 fouls was fantastic value. It's shortened now to 1.61 with both Paddy and Sky. I think that's probably around a fair price, probably slight value. But I still would like to sort of incorporate that angle into this game again. The best solution that I've come up with so far is for a combination of Lewis Skelly to draw 2 or more fouls, combined with Yves Bissouma to commit 1 or more fouls, which comes out at 1.88 with Paddy Power. Starting with Bissouma, he played the full 120 minutes against Tamworth as Spurs look extremely light in midfield. Obviously, Bentancur missed this game due to the concussion protocol, so Bissouma could likely play the full 90. Of course, it's hard to say pretty much whether he will or won't, but I would imagine he sort of plays at least 75 minutes, barring any sort of mitigating circumstances. In terms of Lewis Skelly, I obviously mentioned his data in the thread, which if you would like to revisit that, feel free. The thread is still up on Twitter. But he does rarely finish the 90, so taking this with Paddy Power I think is important here. It gives us a nice little insurance. It's priced very similarly with Sky, so I really like that as a first angle. Now, going back to that game against Man United, Arsenal saw Calafiori injured in the warm-up. Gabriel Jesus was taken off before half-time, while Timber and Jorginho were also subbed in extra time with respective injuries, so it wasn't a good game for Mikel Arteta in that respect, and those players are added to the list of Ben White, Saka and Tomiyasu who are already injured, so quite a few injuries to contend with for Arsenal going into this game, and that sort of levels the playing field as Spurs also have their own extensive injury list to contend with. So the next potential angle that I'm interested in is Spurs shots. They've managed at least 9 attempts on goal in each of the last 11 games. They've had at least 9 shots. Against the likes of Liverpool in both games, against Man City they had 9 shots, and against Arsenal earlier in the season they had 15 shots. Admittedly, backing opponents to register shots against Arsenal, especially at the Emirates, has been a risky play all season. However, just given the sort of injuries that Arteta will have to contend with, and also given the fact that we have a very, very low line on offer, I think this is a market to target. I mentioned how Spurs to register at least 9 shots has a fantastic hit rate, particularly in the tougher matchups, and that bet is actually priced at 1.61 with Bet365. However, there's a really nice way that I found that you can boost these odds, and that is by adding Spurs to also register over 2.5 shots on target, which pushes the odds up to 2.0, so evens. Spurs have actually registered at least 3 shots on target in each of the last 30 straight games in all competitions, so that is a fantastic hit rate. If we look into these sort of relevant matchups, we can see they recently had 4 shots on target against Liverpool in the EFL Cup, 5 shots on target against Liverpool in the league just before that. Against Chelsea, they had 5 shots on target. Against City at the Etihad in that 4-0 win, they had 7 shots on target. Again, against City in the league, in the Carabao Cup, they had 7 shots on target. And against Arsenal earlier in the season, they had 5 shots on target. So they've easily exceeded this line, even in the tougher matchups. And that actually makes me quite interested in taking Tottenham shots on target just as a single. You can get over 3.5 shots on target at 2.25. And given that that's landed in all of the tough matchups that I just mentioned, that looks a really, really nice price, even against a team like Arsenal. Moving on to the final bet that I would like to cover, and it's for Declan Rice to register 2 or more tackles, which is priced at 1.72 with Bet365. Just on the surface, this line looks very, very low. Declan Rice was rested on the weekend against Man United. He appeared for just the last 15 minutes and then played all of extra time, and he also converted his penalty. I've already mentioned Arsenal's injury crisis, and I think because of that, Declan Rice should be in for to start at the very least, and I would imagine he actually plays the full 90 in this game. Looking into his data this season at the Emirates, he's actually only averaging 1.49 tackles per 90, so nothing to really write home about. However, when we look into the games where he's played at least 80 minutes, he's landed at least 2 tackles in 6 out of 9, so clearly does see an uptick when he plays more minutes, which obviously makes a lot of sense. The Arsenal tackle line for this game is set at 19.5, which is a relatively high line, especially for Arsenal when playing at home. But I do think it makes sense because Spurs are drawing the most tackles in the entire Premier League so far this season, with opponents averaging 21.4 tackles per 90. So given that this is a derby game, given that Spurs are the best team in the league for sort of targeting opposition tackles, given that Declan Rice will likely see an uptick in minutes due to the injury crisis that Arteta is currently facing, I just think this line at over 1.5 priced at 1.72 looks way, way too low. And for some context, Sky Bet are actually offering the same selection at 1.3, so significantly shorter. So as you could have guessed, that is probably one of my favourite value angles on offer for this game, and therefore I do see the potential to ladder it. Over 2.5 tackles for a holding midfielder against Spurs at just short of 2 to 1 looks a ridiculously good price. And as I said, if he can get the minutes, absolutely no reason why he can't hit the higher lines here. Again, just to justify the ladder a bit more, when he last faced Spurs in his previous game, Declan Rice made 5 tackles at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. In the game before that at the Emirates, he made just 1 tackle, but he was notably substituted at half-time with an injury. So I think there's plenty of value in the tackles lines, as I've mentioned. That will actually conclude all the bets I had planned. So just to summarise, I have mentioned Lewis Skelly to draw 2 more fouls paired with Basuma to commit at least 1 foul, priced at 1.88 with Paddy Power. I've then backed Spurs to register over 8.5 shots combined with over 2.5 shots on target, which comes out at 2.0 with Bet365. Also touched on playing shots on target as a single with over 3.5 priced at 2.25. And then finally Declan Rice to register over 1.5 tackles at 1.72 with ladder potential all the way up. I would like to wish you the best of luck for any bets that you go with. Thank you all for your continued support on the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.